Before the first shot of the American Revolution, before tea turned a harbor into a symbol, one city was already a ticking fuse. If you had walked its streets in that year, would you have recognized that history was about to ignite beneath your feet? A port city, caught between obedience and open defiance, standing at the uneasy edge of an empire. At first glance, it is just another colonial town of wooden houses, crooked streets, and church spires. But beneath the cries of dock workers and the tolling of bells, something deeper is shifting. A slow, relentless movement toward revolution. Listen first to the waterfront, because here the heartbeat of Boston is the loudest. Wharves like Long Wharf and Griffin's Wharf stretch out into the harbor like wooden fingers grasping at the Atlantic trade that feeds the town. Ships from the Caribbean, Britain, and Europe nudge the piers, their masts creaking, their rigging humming in the cold New England wind. Barrels of molasses, rum, fish, and timber roll over the planks, guided by the shouts and straining backs of dock workers. The smell here is a harsh mixture of tar, salt water, smoke, and rotting seaweed. Gulls scream overhead, fighting over scraps. Sailors, merchants, enslaved Africans, and native people move through the same crowded spaces, connected by trade, but divided by law, power, and fate. Over all of this stand the silhouettes of British warships anchored just beyond the harbor. Dark, heavy shapes whose cannons symbolize a distant king's will. You do not have to see power to feel it. In Boston, you just have to look out to see. From the wharves, the streets climb uphill into the town. And with every step away from the water, the tension changes shape. Boston is not a grand city of wide boulevards. It is a tight, twisting web of lanes and alleys. Carts rattle over uneven cobblestones. Children chase each other through puddles and piles of trash. Laundry hangs between houses, flapping over the heads of passers-by. The town feels cramped, alive, and fragile, as if one spark of fire or of anger could set everything alight. The only question is, who will strike that spark first? At the center of this pressure stands King Street, the core of Imperial authority in Boston. The Customs House, with its brick walls and guarded doors, watches the street like a stern overseer. Here, taxes on paper, glass, paint, and tea are collected under the authority of Parliament's Townshend Acts. For British officials, this is simply the enforcement of law. For many colonists, it feels like a hand reaching too far into their pockets and their lives. In front of the Customs House and the nearby townhouse, red-coated British soldiers stand on duty. They are young men far from home, cold, underpaid, and often resented. Their bright uniforms clash with the gray and brown tones of the town, making them constant, visible symbols of occupation. Every drumbeat, every polished musket reminds Bostonians that their streets are no longer entirely their own. Day after day, insult after insult, you can almost hear patience thinning in the frozen air. Yet Boston refuses to be silent, and it does not resist in just one place. In taverns like the Green Dragon, in meeting houses, and in private parlors, arguments and plans stretch long into the night. Men like Samuel Adams, John Hancock, and James Otis speak of rights, liberties, and the ancient protections of English law. They insist that Parliament in distant London cannot tax a people who have no representatives there. No taxation without representation is more than a slogan. It is a line drawn in the sand, and Boston is daring the empire to cross it.
Information travels not only by word of mouth, but through the rapid, relentless work of the print shops. Wooden presses groan as they stamp out newspapers, broadsides, and pamphlets. Ink stains the fingers and clothes of apprentices who hang damp pages to dry. Stories of British abuses, of protests, of legal arguments, and of street confrontations spread from house to house. A speech given in one room can, within days, shape the opinions of an entire town. What begins as ink and paper will soon turn into crowds in the street. Meanwhile, Boston's churches and meeting houses provide another kind of stage, one that reaches deeper than politics alone. Their steeples pierce the sky, ringing bells that call people to worship, to town meetings, or to alarm. Inside, ministers preach about sin, duty, and justice, while laymen stand up to debate how a Christian people should respond to unjust power. Scripture mixes with political theory. The language of covenant, a sacred agreement between God and his people, blends with ideas about a social contract between rulers and the ruled. Little by little, loyalty itself becomes a religious question. Beyond these centers of power and debate lies the everyday Boston, of homes and back alleys, the city that pays the real price for every decision. Wooden houses stand shoulder to shoulder, their yards cluttered with firewood, ash heaps, and animals. Women haul water, mend clothes, and stretch food as far as it will go. Artisans shape leather, iron, and wood in cramped workshops that double as homes. For these people, politics is not a distant game played by gentlemen. A new tax can mean less bread on the table. A closed harbor can mean months without work. Every decree from London lands here first, in kitchen cupboards and empty purses. And when pressure builds in kitchens and workshops, it eventually spills out into the streets. It is from these lanes and alleys that the crowds come when tensions finally break the surface. Boys throw snowballs and insults at soldiers. Workers surround a single isolated guard at the customs house. Voices rise, fists clench. The line between noise and violence dissolves. Muskets crack in the cold night air. When the smoke drifts away, bodies lie bleeding on the frozen stones of King Street. This moment will be remembered as the Boston Massacre, a word that will echo across the colonies, turning fear and anger into a shared cause. The fuse that was laid along the waterfront has finally been lit. In 1770, no one in Boston can see the future clearly. They do not yet know that tea will one day be dumped into this harbor in an act of bold defiance, or that full-scale war will follow, or that a new nation will rise claiming Boston as one of its cradles. But they feel, in every shouted argument, every printed pamphlet, every clash between soldier and citizen, that something is breaking and cannot easily be repaired. Boston in 1770 is a city of timber and brick, sermons and slogans, hardship and hope. It is still officially a loyal town within the British Empire, but loyalties are fraying. Under the creak of ships and the toll of church bells, another sound grows louder, the steady gathering rhythm of revolution. And the question that hangs over every street is simple and terrifying. When the break finally comes, which side of history will this city and its people stand on? Thank you for walking these streets on the edge of transformation. If you want to see more AI reconstructed cities at the very moment history begins to turn, subscribe and stay with the channel for future journeys into the past.